Welcome to The Lead. I'm Jake Tapper, and we begin with our politics lead. In the next hour, President Biden and Vice President Harris are going to meet with 10 Republican senators. The GOP senators are pitching to the Biden administration a slimmed-down COVID relief bill, a $600 billion counter-proposal to the president's $1.9 trillion plan. The Republican bill is not substantively different from the Biden proposal. It is significantly less in funding, though, including no funding for some Democratic priorities, such as funding for states and cities. This will be the first major test of President Biden's pledge to work across the aisle. And a Biden administration source tells CNN that while the president is open to working with Republicans, $600 billion will not be enough to do the job with the nation in crisis. This challenge also comes as the Biden White House is facing blowback from Vice President Harris's interviews pushing urgent action on economic relief with West Virginia news media, a move seen as pressure on moderate West Virginia Democratic Senator Joe Manchin. Manchin was put off by the move, which to many political observers seemed rather ham-handed. As CNN's Phil Mattingly reports, the White House this afternoon says President Biden is not worried about going too big with the bill. He is worried about going too small.
If you can't find bipartisanship on COVID-19, I don't know where you can find it.
1 hour from now, 10 Republican senators will put President Joe Biden's call for bipartisanship to the test. Biden granting a meeting on the group's COVID relief proposal, a $618 billion plan that would provide $160 billion for vaccine distribution and testing, $1,000 in direct payments, $300 for expanded unemployment insurance, and $20 billion for K-12 schools.
We saw this as a good faith proposal they've put forward. What this meeting is not is a forum for the president to make or accept an offer.
Yet the plan comes in less than 1/3 of the top line total sought by the White House, with significantly less funding for schools, no funding for states and localities, and a shorter extension of the unemployment benefit. All, as Biden has made clear, bigger is better.
The risk is not doing too much. The risk is not doing enough.
Congressional Democrats are ready to move forward on a partisan basis this week.
If we can't move forward with them, we'll have to do it on our own.
But already scrambling to ensure a crucial vote in their one-vote Senate majority.
We're going to try to find a bipartisan pathway forward. I think we need to, but we need to work together.
Moderate Democrat Joe Manchin bristling over this.
That the American people deserve their leaders to step up and stand up for them.
And pushing back on a White House pressure strategy that has already fallen apart.
That's not a way of working together.
Which is why the White House today tried to quickly mend that fence and keep Manchin on their side.
We've been in touch with Senator Manchin, as we have been for many weeks, and will continue to be moving forward.
And, Jake, the necessity of keeping Senator Manchin in the fold will likely only be underscored by the meeting that's going to happen just behind me in about an hour. Republicans involved in their proposal make clear they want to go into this meeting and get a sense of where the president is and perhaps more importantly, where the president is willing to move. But, Jake, when you talk to White House advisors, they make very clear not only is $618 billion well below something they will be willing to deal on, they aren't willing to move much off their top line. They are willing to revise in some ways and in some places, but they have made very clear the scope of the crisis calls for them to go big, and they aren't moving off of that top line anytime soon, Jake.
All right, Phil Mattingly at the White House. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Joining us now, Republican Senator Joni Ernst of Iowa, who joins us here in studio. Thanks for being here, Senator. I want you to take a listen to the Republican governor of West Virginia, Jim Justice, on CNN today, talking about the need for economic relief.
But trying to be, per se, fiscally responsible at this point in time with what we've got going on in this country, if we actually throw away some money right now, so what? We have really got to move and get people taken care of and get people back on balance.
The Republican governor in an area of the country not far from where you're from. What's your response?
Well, we do have to be fiscally responsible, but also provide relief to those that need it the most. And that's why I am very glad that I have a number of colleagues that are stepping up. We have 10 that will be visiting with the president a little bit later today and presenting a plan for moving forward. Additional vaccine relief, which is necessary, additional stimulus payments, an extension of UI insurance for those that are still unemployed across our states. So we are moving forward with that plan. It does include a plan that I've worked heavily on, which is childcare. And we know that to open up our economy, we need vaccines, but we also need to have daycare centers and others other places for children to go safely so that moms and dads can get back to work. I think this is the responsible way of moving forward, and let's have those discussions. Let's do this in a bipartisan manner.
The Republican proposal does not provide any money to state and local governments, a key must-have for Democrats who say these localities need funds to help distribute the vaccines, to increase testing, to reopen schools. Why not include some funding for states and cities?
Well, this is a sticking point, and where we want to make sure that we are targeting the relief dollars towards COVID-19 and alleviating the issues with COVID-19. What we don't want to see is a bailout of bad behavior from previous years. Now, Iowa passed a status quo budget this last year. They're doing okay. What my Iowa taxpayers are saying is we don't want to bail out the states that haven't managed their own budgets responsibly. If we can provide dollars and do it in a targeted way to provide PPE, additional vaccines and relief, we're happy to do that. We just don't want to bail out bad behavior.
So here's the brass tacks part of this. Democrats control now the White House. They control the Senate. They control the House. Republicans are saying this needs to be bipartisan. We need to do this in a bipartisan way. But in recent years, Republicans, when they controlled everything, passed tax cuts without any Democratic support. They nearly repealed Obamacare without any Democratic support. John McCain prevented that from actually happening. So why is it such a horrible thing for Democrats to do what they want to do to help the country, if it's not bipartisan, just their own party, when Republicans did things pretty much on their own when it came to health care and tax cuts?
Well, we see a lot of tit for tat, and you brought up some examples. Of course, Obamacare, the repeal of Obamacare, we have to remember Obamacare was passed with no Republicans. With the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, we would have been very happy to have Democrats come forward and work with us on proposals that would work for their states and their constituents. But from day one, they said, we are not going to participate in this. As we look towards working on COVID-19, we have worked in a bipartisan manner. But here at the beginning of a new administration with a Democratic president, now we have Democrats in the Senate saying, we don't want to work with you, which is why I think it's so important that these 10 Senate Republicans have stepped forward. We've all been working together on the various pieces of this legislation. We want to work with Democrats, and I think it's important that we do that. The president promised bipartisanship in his inauguration speech. We really look forward to that, and we hope that he honors the promises that he's made to all of us.
So you were one of the first Senate Republicans to acknowledge that Joe Biden won. You did so, I think, in December after the Electoral College met. Is that right?
Yes, that's
so. Next week, you're going to start hearing arguments in the second impeachment trial of former President Trump. I know you have issues, questions about the constitutionality of a Senate conviction for somebody who's no longer president. But beyond that question, we've seen at least 150 arrests of various Trump supporters and far-right groups after attacking the Capitol, charged with sedition and other crimes. If not impeachment conviction, what accountability should there be for Donald Trump, considering that he incited them and spread this lie that enraged them until they attacked the Capitol? I mean, you must agree that he bears some responsibility.
Well, and I have said that he does bear some responsibility by exhibiting poor leadership. And let me tell you, just on January 6th, as we were going through that, I was in the Senate chambers when rioters broke into the Capitol, and it was absolutely horrific. But I also place a lot of responsibility upon those that were rioting and assaulted our democracy by coming into the Capitol. There was fear amongst the members. There was fear amongst those that were on the floor during that time. There were two young pages, young women that were crying and shaking. I took them with me as we evacuated. It was horrific, but we do have those that are being arrested for coming into the Capitol illegally. The president showed poor leadership. We know that. And I will listen to those arguments. You're right. I do believe that this is unconstitutional at this point. We will listen to the arguments as they're presented. But as far as other courses of action, the president, former president, is now a private citizen. there are courses of action that could be taken against a private citizen.
So legal, if somebody was going to prosecute him for that, that would be something you would have less of an issue with.
That could be a course of action. My role will be part of this jury in an impeachment conviction trial. But again, issues of constitutionality, we'll listen to the arguments. But again, the president showed poor leadership, and I wish he would have said much sooner, please stand down, this needs to be peaceful. And it didn't happen.
All right, Senator Ernst, thanks so much for being here. It's good to see you again, and hope to have you back to talk about issues a lot more in the coming years.
Thank you, Jake.